Well, I was there. I was around. I was at Disney at the time when it switched sort of from 2D animation to 3D animation. And it really changed. It didn't change my job or the story people's job. It mainly changed the animators' job. And stories, if you make a good story, it should be timeless and it should strike a chord with people and resonate with people when they watch it. And they're not thinking about its placement in time. It should be, you should be able to watch these films over and over and.
Hi, Jeff. It's so lovely to meet you here on Zoom.
Yeah, nice to meet you too.
And you are all the way there in Los Angeles.
Yes, Los Angeles, California.
Yeah, wonderful. Um, but Jeff, tell me, I would love to know more about your work on Maya and the Three, and you are a co-executive producer on this program. Would you like to tell me about what was the inspiration to do this project?
Well,
This series?
so yeah, this mini series, or it's actually a limited series. It's My and the Three was a show created by Jorge Gutierrez, who also directed Book of Life, and he had a show on Nickelodeon called El Tigre, and a couple other shows. And he actually was a student of mine when I was teaching at Cal Arts, California Institute of the Arts in the northern part of Los Angeles. He was a student of mine. So that's where we first met. But he created the show, and Netflix had just started up, and they asked him, "Is there a show you want to do? Anything you want to do?" And so he pitched
Mhm.
this show to them, and they said, "Okay, we're going to do it." So when he started, actually Jorge and we were both working together on a Lego movie over at Warner Brothers, and so we got this offer, and he went to do that instead, and then I joined him about 3 months later. So yeah, it's a limited series. There are only 9 episodes, and it's a show. And I don't want to give any spoilers away, but it's a show about a this. She's a princess, I guess you would say, but she's a warrior. She's a
Okay.
warrior first, and she is the daughter of this as it's sort of Aztec Empire, but it's not exactly the Aztec. This is a fantasy movie, so
Okay. Yeah.
um, there's a prophecy that says that one day the Empire will three jaguars and a mighty eagle will protect this empire, and so her father believes that it's him and her three brothers. But as we find out in the story, that's the prophecy is wrong, and so Maya has to figure out how this prophecy is going to work out, and she goes on an adventure to find these other three warriors to help her on her journey. So,
But I want to know about this animation. How much part did you have in that, in creating that?
well, I was also head of story and co-executive producer. So my job is to kind of when we first started, Jorge and I were the first two people to start on the show, and we just kind of worked out the beginning of the story and kind of figured out sort of a roadmap and how
Yeah.
this story would work. But Jorge is a person who's super driven, and it's just like he's going nonstop. So I had to kind of keep up with him because he kept throwing in ideas, and we came up with this sort of structure for the story. And at this point, we're not doing a lot of drawings. I'm doing a few drawings. Jorge did all the character designs with his wife Sandra, and so he comes in with some character designs and some loose ideas, and then we start sort of developing the story and some of the characters and some of the visuals. As a head of story, You kind of figure out what the plot points are, and you start to illustrate them, sort of like a storybook,
Yeah.
to see how this movie is going to flow. And then once we do that, you pitch it back to the executives to give them a sense of what this movie is going to be like, and then they approve it or they don't approve it. And then luckily, Jorge's such a great pitch man and creator that they just loved it. And so we just started hiring people. The our Tim Yoon was our producer, and we started hiring story people and just gathering sort of our troops to kind of help us along the way and flesh out this story. So we're not actually doing the animation part. It's sort of the constructing the ideas in the beginning, and then we let it go, and then it starts to have a life on its own.
Well, I read that you are a story man. That's one of your strong points or favorite things to do. So, how does this story? So, for example, when you have the drawings and the characters, how much do you change the story or the storyline as the characters develop? Then,
Yeah, as the sort of the head of the story, like it's sort of my job to kind of make sure all the characters and the plot points are working together, and I can see the whole story in the big picture, and I can flag things if anything comes down the line, and make sure the continuity that there's characters that are doing things and plot ideas that are happening, and just making sure that they link up. And that's what we do, as a story person. And I worked at Disney feature animation for 18 years, and I worked on Frozen and helped develop Frozen and Moana. And my first film was Hercules back in the day in the 90s. So
I love that film. Yeah.
you love Hercules. Actually started as a character designer and then sort of became a story person. People don't really know, like when you say animation, you're an animator. I have relatives that go, "Oh, you work at in animation, you must be an animator." And that's how they introduce me to other people. And I go, "Well, I'm a story person," and they don't know what that means. So story people, what we do are the storyboards, the pre work done before animation starts, like a comic strip. And we do the whole movie in that form. And then it gets cut together with music and sound just to get a sense of how the story is. And if it's not working, then we get to you can redraw it, and we throw out whole sequences, or sometimes we throw out whole movies. I've been at Disney where they just threw out the whole movie.
Really?
A couple times. Like it just happens because it's not working, or the concept isn't strong enough, the vision isn't strong enough, or budget, or multiple reasons why. If it's not up to a certain standard, then it just gets replaced with other films that are in development. So yeah, story person. And then also, in addition to that, being a story person, we meet together about the story, and we talk about the story after we watch. It gets cut together. We meet together, and we talk about the story and what is working and what's not working. So we get to shape the story, and have the story team and the director and sometimes other people to help craft, the whole movie.
But now in working, you've worked now for Disney for such a long time, and also the animation changed a lot, and also the stories changed really. How much, as a storyteller, how much do you have to adapt to, to changes also in society and new generations and things like that?
Well, I was there. I was around. I was at Disney at the time when it switched sort of from 2D animation to 3D animation. And it really changed. It didn't change my job or the story people's job. it mainly changed the animators' job. And stories, if you make a good story, it should be timeless, and it should strike a chord with people and resonate with people when they watch it, and they're not thinking about its placement in time. It should be, you should be able to watch these films over and over, and people do, and hopefully, they're strong enough. The storytelling is strong enough to withstand time. And then I know some stories, if you make references to things that are current, it's not timeless. It's sort of stuck in that period. So yeah, I don't know, and then when I saw it switch over, it didn't really change what I did, because storyboarding is the same job. Sorry, there's a truck driving by.
No, that's fine.
Um, uh, it's the street sweeper. Can you hear it?
I can't hear
No,
it.
you
No,
can't hear it?
no.
Okay, sorry. So yeah, it really didn't change my job as a story person, because that's always been the same. Storyboarding, storytelling. I think they say Walt Disney created this sort of term, story person, where you come in and you storyboard the whole movie before it's actually animated. So yeah, that's sort of the job as a story person.
It's also interesting that I think how we watch animated movies, and like you say, the storylines and the humor and the characters as well, that you almost forget it's animation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. Like, once storytelling is storytelling, and if you're drawn into the story and you just care about the characters, I don't think it should matter if it's animated or if it's live action. If it really connects with you, then I think that, that's one of the earliest forms of entertainment is storytelling, sitting around a fire and telling stories about gods and animals and things that happen to you, and it just happened, and we're just doing the same thing over and over, but just in different ways. So
But now, Jeff, you must have an amazing imagination to be able to come up with all these stories. How did you, as a child, did you realize that you can do this, that you have this ability?
I always felt like it was something I had to do, that I didn't have any other interest, like playing baseball or football or anything outside of being creative. I don't. It must be a gene or something that I have,
Okay.
where you like. I just love children's books, comic books. Growing up, I could track the things that I liked. It started with children's books. Like, I remember in school, the teacher reading a children's book. And just, one of the first ones was Where the Wild Things Are by Maurice Sendak. And just being caught up in the drawings and the characters, and this little boy who gets sent to bed, and his mom tells him, go where the wild things are. That's where you belong, because you're a little monster. So he goes and he takes this trip and he meets all these monsters, and he's the king of the monsters, but he doesn't feel right. And then he decides he's having so much fun, but then he decides to go home, and he goes back to his reality. And so just the idea that you could create these things and create these creatures and characters, just really caught my attention. And as I grew up, it went from children's books to animated or comic strips, and animated TV shows. Like, in America, they always have these shows during holiday season, like Christmas time, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and Frosty the Snowman, and these stop motion shows. And then I fell in love with comic books and illustration. And so it just sort of led from one thing to another. I always like building things, like making models, sculpting.
Really?
Yeah.
Mm.
So as a kid, that's where my compass was always pointing, was to make things, create things. I loved, like, in school, we always had art class on Fridays, and I just couldn't wait for those days and just sit down and just start making things and drawing things. So yeah, and I never thought as a kid that I could do it as a job. That was not something that wasn't
Yeah.
open to me. Like I thought, oh, I like doing it, but it wasn't. I grew up in San Diego, which is south of Los Angeles, and it's not that far away, but I didn't know as a kid Los Angeles was just over there.
Oh,
It felt a
okay.
million miles away. And I never imagined, like, I could work in Hollywood or have a job being an artist. So I just kind of decided, when I graduated from high school, I didn't have a plan of that I was going to go be an artist. That because my parents were immigrants from the Philippines, and they just believed in, like, get a job to survive. And
Yeah.
my dad was in the Navy, my mom did housekeeping, so it was something that wasn't even a consideration. Like, just get a job doing something.
Yeah.
But being a creative person and being an artist was way too high, as an immigrant, to even imagine that you could do it. So they didn't think that that was a possibility. And I didn't think so either. And it wasn't something that they told me I couldn't do, like, no, you can't be an artist. It was just like, oh, that's nice. You're doing that art as a hobby, but maybe you should get a job being a computer programmer, or, you know, doing something else where you'll actually make money. Because that old saying that, there's starving artists. That was the term that everybody throws
Yeah.
around. You
And
probably ran into that too. Oh, you'll be a starving artist. You'll be a starving artist.
yeah.
I mean, and some of it's true, but if you can stick with it and persevere and have that, ability to push through and see your goals and do it, then I think you won't be a starving artist.
Mm.
But
And it's
even if you're
also
not, yeah, go
mm,
ahead.
no, but it's also this idea that sometimes people think, or say I get this sometimes with my daughter who's a ballet dancer, that they ask, what's your real job? And as if they so
Right.
do people ask this for you as well? Because it's storytelling and story, so that you have this perception that this can't be a job because you're telling stories, but it is an actual job.
Yeah. When I married, when I went to school, actually, I was an older student. I was 26 when I went to California Institute of the Arts. I had a job illustrating computer lessons in San Diego, and that's where I met my wife. She was an executive there, and so I decided to go back to school and actually leave that job, which I had for 5 years, and go, because I never went to college. I just got that job, and I never thought I could do that. But it was, simple. Back in the 80s, it was like pixel art.
Oh,
So
okay.
so then I left and went to school, and her parents were like, I don't know, he's going to be a starving artist. and and I went to school, but once I got out of school and I got a job at Disney, and once you hear the Disney name, then people kind of back away
Oh,
and, like,
yeah.
oh, you're a Disney artist, then maybe you might be making some money. And it's not
Yeah.
really about making money. I actually quit that job illustrating computer software because I wanted to draw on paper. I was tired of
Um,
looking at computers, but now computers are everywhere, and I'm drawing on a computer every day. But I was using a mouse, to click
yeah,
on
yeah,
pixels. So
yeah.
I just wanted to get away and draw on
Mm.
paper and do something different. And that's animation. That's where it led me to.
But how do you get a job at Disney, or how did you get the job at Disney then?
Well, yeah, I was lucky enough at California Institute of the Arts, or CalArts as it's shortened. We have the luck that not luck, but the people who actually go to this, who went to the school previously and they got jobs in the industry, a lot of people come back to teach at CalArts. And I did the same thing where your teachers are actually working in the industry.
Okay.
So through them, sometimes you'll get jobs. And part of the reason how I got through Disney was that my teacher, Sue Nichols, who was a character designer at Disney, and she designed, she was the lead character designer on Hercules. She liked my work and she pushed me to go, turn my portfolio in at Disney, and I did, and I got in. So it's sort of that connection, that personal connection I have, and that's a big reason why people go to that school, is to meet other people and do good work, but also you have such a immediate connection to people in the industry, and they might see your work and then they might recommend you. And I have friends that happened to also. So they call it the CalArts Mafia because we kind of tend to hire
Oh, okay.
each
Yeah.
other and network, and because
Yeah.
so many people, once you graduate and leave, or you don't even have to graduate, you can just go out and you talk to people and you say, "Oh, I went to CalArts," and they go like, "Oh, I went to CalArts too," and you just
Really?
know of so
Yeah.
many people that you just get, you can recommend people all the time, so.
But now, Jeff, if you said now previously that you wanted to draw on paper and not on the computer anymore, but now
Right.
things have changed. Also, like you say, it's all computer animation now. Do you think
Right.
this is something that there's something lost about this whole real drawing, and this animation that the real animation as we know it?
Yeah, I mean, all forms of animation are valid, and creatively, um each one has its own strengths, but when you look back on the hand-drawn animation, there's such a technical uh wonder about that. People can actually draw and rotate things in 3D with just their mind, and actually act, and make things come to life when you just have a pencil and a piece of paper. It's such an amazing feat. But now I think it's more, the reason why there's more computer animation is because I think the people in charge, the execs and the people who have the money, um, they see that if we do it in computer animation, maybe we can, if we make another film, we don't have to rebuild the characters and it's already built. And so we'll save money that way, which isn't always true, because when they do like the second sequel to the movie, the software has changed. So they have to rebuild everything. And, so, but I personally, I really love the hand-drawn animation. There's something magical about it.
I agree. Yeah.
There's a company, in Ireland, I hope it's Ireland, called Cartoon Saloon, and they do a lot of 2D, and all the films they do are 2D, and they're always nominated, for Academy awards, every time whenever they put something out, and it's pretty amazing. And I hope there's more 2D, and there seems to be a lot still, but it's hard
Yeah.
to it's hard to, when you have computer animation, it sort of levels sorry, the playing field, where people, you don't really have to know how to draw that well. You just know how
Yeah.
to move and animate the characters, which is fine, but there's not that personal touch of, the hand
Yeah.
drawn. And I'm not like saying one is better than the other. It's just like, just the time we're living in, and I got to see that transition. And it made me a little sad because, all the artists, when I started at Disney, are a lot of artists that were doing, hand drawn stuff. There were the animators, and then there's also a job called Rough In Betweener, where they're just making the drawings in between the main poses. So you have one
Oh,
pose
yeah.
here, one pose here, and then they're doing all the in between drawings. There's a cleanup people that make it look really nice and clean. There's layout people who do the backgrounds and background painters. So when I went to Disney, there were all these artists there, hand-drawn artists that were working there. It was an amazing time to be there. But now I'm not saying that there are less artists. It's just it's all on the computer, and you just can't see it. You can't touch it. When I started at Disney, there was always artwork on the walls. Like it was just plastered with artwork.
Really?
Yeah, like original art just hung up. But now, it's always on the screen, the computer screen, and they're like, oh, just go to this, they just give you a link and you just go there and you see it. But it doesn't have the same impact as its an original piece of artwork on the wall. So I kind of miss those days.
No, I agree with you. I love the hand drawn or the drawn animations. They really there's something about that. If you watch them now, also it's just there's something magical about that.
Yeah. I mean, there's also stop motion animation, which I love too. Which seems like there are more stop motion animated films these days. Like. Have you seen Pinocchio by Guillermo del Toro?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, that's on Netflix, and also Wendell and Wild, a stop motion show. That's on Netflix too. So there's a lot more of that too, which I love. It's sort of like toys come to life. As you know, I like toys.
Yeah, I see. But wait, this collection, you have a huge collection there.
Yeah, I think it's from all my years like in animation, as you're working, different films come out, different characters come out, and you just love, I don't know, I love the 3D tactile experience of just holding. It's similar, it's associated with sculpture, I think. Like you want to see, and the sculptures come to life, and I really love really posable characters, or toys, so that I can pose them and look at them. And I don't really use them for reference, just more of my imagination and something I liked as a kid that I just brought over. And it turns out that a lot of people in animation love toys too.
Really?
Yeah. And when I started working at Disney, I would notice people would have toys on their desks, and I was like, wow, they're like me too. And I just found my tribe, and I found that I wasn't a weirdo for liking toys and not growing up. And I always tell my wife, like, I feel like a 12-year-old kid in a man's body. I just feel like I was always sort of that age of that where I liked drawing and building models, and I never grew up.
Well, that's wonderful. I actually spoke to a commercial pilot who said that he thinks we should never grow up. It's this child in us that makes us, and drives us and makes us do certain things and accomplish things, that almost that naivety. So, I think that's great that you have, but it's probably not a very complicated buying you something for Christmas, because they.
Well, I want specific things, and for me, I feel like Christmas isn't Christmas unless you get a toy. It doesn't have to be a big toy. Just a little toy. Which this past Christmas I didn't really get a lot of toys. Usually I get, so I was like a little sad, but I was okay with it because I have too many toys now.
Oh, okay.
Like I have nowhere to store them, so I have to start going through and giving away my toys or selling them.
Well, Jeff, you've just given me a great idea. I want a toy this year for Christmas. I'm going to put that on a wish list for me, because if you can have toys, I can have toys as well.
Why not? I mean, what is a toy? I mean, it could be something that you could play with. Like it doesn't have to be a doll or something like that. But if you really connect with it, I don't know, it's something in like that brings back childhood memories. And
exactly, no, you're absolutely right. But
they sell a lot of in Japanese stores. They sell a lot of small toys, so it could be tiny that you put on your desk, and by your computer.
I'm going to explore that now. I want Yeah, I definitely want a toy for Christmas.
Why not? Why not?
Yeah.
Let's not grow up. I think, being a kid, yeah, like you said, that naivete of like,
Yeah.
you don't know everything and you shouldn't know everything because the world is so big, and that sense of wonder of like, well, what is happening over there? I want to explore that. Or I want to go to a different country and see what's going on. That idea of like, I want to fill my brain with as much as I can. um I feel like you never learn, you can't learn everything, so you should always be learning in this mode of like, I want to learn every day. I want to
Yeah.
learn something new.
And I think I've discovered, or this is my opinion, that artists have this ability to dream and to imagine, and this is something that's so important, really. And my wish is that schools will give more children opportunity to study art or to study some form of art, because I think this way of imagining and this way of creativity also would benefit other subjects as well, like maths and sciences. And
Oh yeah.
this, yeah. So yeah, it's wonderful that you do that and that you have that attitude, and that you also it's proof that you are successful in what you do, and telling stories is so important.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But now,
So,
Jeff, what is your wish now? Still, what would you like to accomplish?
oh, I started this little company with my wife, and we're starting to create our own stories. Um, and outside of animation, it could be a book or it could be something else. It doesn't have to be animated. Um, so she's writing a book, an idea that we're working on together. Um, and I don't know. If somebody gave me lots of money, sure, I would love to create something. I'd love to do, working in animation so long, it doesn't have to be animated. I mean, I'd love to do like giant sculptures or, just something different and something, or stop motion movie. If anybody's watching this, if you want to give me money to make a stop motion movie, or just, I don't know, it's just,
Yeah.
but working in Hollywood, it's hard to get. You have to go in and you got to pitch and you got to sell things, and um, it's like betting on a horse race. Like, so you have to sell yourself as the best horse that's going to run the fastest and the longest. So, and there's so many horses out there that are trying to race against you. So, um, I mean, I love all forms of entertainment, and I don't know, I'd love to do them all.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never been a director. So I'd love to direct something to, when you direct something, you kind of have your own voice and you get to tell people, not that I have this need to tell people what to do, but it's more like, you have more, you're in charge of everybody. So you have more direction and more
Yeah.
a vision. You can like have people help shape your vision. And so, I mean, I've worked in the industry so long that I know that it's not made by one person. If you're a director, it's not all you. It's everybody you surround yourself with, that, the best people to lift you up. And I think that's true in everything you do. You should surround yourself with the nicest and the best people.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah. And you get so much inspiration from people when there's this chemistry. And this I hear from musicians as well, that they say it's the best to make music with people you like, and with friends.
Right.
And I think this is where a teamwork works so effectively, is when you have people who have the chemistry and the same sort of outlook on things. So yeah.
Yeah, that sense of play. Like if you want
Yeah.
to, like as if you were a kid, like you go, oh, do you like to play on the swing set, or do you like to do what I like to do? Yeah, let's do that. Okay, let's go play.
Yeah.
And if you find like-minded people that you want to play with, it'll just come out naturally, and all this energy and creativity will just come out. And that's what I found in animation of working with specific people. You find that they're fun to be with, just not even while you're working, they're just fun to be around. So if you can find those people that are like-minded and won't stab you in the back, but just be nice and have fun with, then your project will be better for it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. But Jeff, this was so interesting to talk to you, and thank you so much for your time.
Sure,
And
Petra, it was great talking to you.
Or I'll really be hoping for a Christmas present, a toy, and
just give me your address. I'll send you a toy.
Okay. Jeff, have a lovely day in Los Angeles today.
You too. I mean, have a good day.
Yeah, thank you so much.